Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Racetrack. Clinton, Geoffrey, and Adam Ross here, as we are every Tuesday, as we work our way through the racing season and all year long. So, welcome everybody joining us. We have a lot of juicy topics. Some we're going to chew on a bit. Some we're just going to kind of slide to the side. But either way, we'll be touching on them. We have Ray Morneau Jr. going to join us today, and we have some spicy things to talk about. Adam, how are you doing after your weekend in Newfoundland? Once again, we had a great time.
I think I'm still hungover from Saturday.
I was wondering, is that the lag in our computer, or is that something with us here? But no, we had a great time. We'll talk a bit about that a little bit later in the show. Let's try and keep on track, though. Let's start off, before we bring in Ray Morneau Jr., with a good discussion bit. Throughout the racing, multiple divisions, yes or no? So this is a question to our viewers and participants tonight. A lot of the times, Adam, I have an opinion on a thing. This is something I'm very strong about, but we see it go both ways. Throw up the Adam Leslie screenshot, and Adam, you sent this in right before. Was this from today?
Yeah.
Adam?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So Adam Leslie says, read it.
You know what? So if I have 5 legal race cars for 5 divisions, I should be allowed to run all 5. If someone wants to put in the time and effort to bring extra cars to the track, they should be allowed. These rules are ludicrous. So, and it goes on. There was more that we did not highlight. And the moral of the story, from what I gather, is Brad Rouse being told he can't run in the sportsman division at Humberstone Sunday. And I don't know a ton about it, Clinton. In fact, it was Connor that came. I saw the post earlier, and then Connor came out and we were chatting about it. And you and I were talking about crate sprints running with 360 sprints. There is a lot at play there. There is a lot at play. I personally don't have a big issue with Brad Rouse running a sportsman at Humberstone, but I understand why people do.
Okay, so there's a couple things there. In the dirt world, you were never allowed to go down, and it was about cherry picking. It was about going down and, having the modified guys come in and take the sportsman's money. And I mean, we kind of did a variance on the rule at Oshweekend, or with the Action Sprint Tour at the Canadian Crate Nationals last year. We said with all these big sprint teams in, and we're paying $5,000 to win, Miles Hill will put Parker Price Miller in the crate sprint to come and try and take that money. So we put in pre-race requirements. So that's how we managed on our side. I think the concern is there's a dirt rule in there that says if you're a modified driver, you can't race sportsman the next night for those types of reasons. I take it to a different level, something we see on the pavement in a lot of races. We see J.R. Fitzpatrick go race a super stock and then an APC late model and dominate them both and then jump into modified as well. I, for one, am not a fan of that. I want to see what Ray Morneau's talk is on this. I don't think it's fair.
Well, they make a great
for
point,
a couple reasons. What's that?
You got to spit it out. Spit out your point, because the comments are coming in hot and heavy, and they just won the debate. Well,
the debate is that, it's a rich guy thing. Our sport is already tough for the guys without the money to keep up with the guys with the money. And I know that's nothing you can control. But as someone who's managing the sport, I don't think you should just let the rich guys get way better than the other guys because they can afford 5 race cars. So at Oshweekend, we limited to 1 class per night because we have a lot of rich guys. And they would just wax you. And on dirt, Adam, if you get to go out and race a crate sprint car and then a 360, you have an advantage over the 360 guy if you just come off that dirt track. See exactly what conditions they have, exactly what the track is. You're getting more time. It's just an unfair advantage. So that's my opinion on it. Throw out yours. Then we'll bring Ray in, see what he has to say about it.
Well, the only opinion that matters on Sunday is it's a dirt car sportsman race, and dirt car rule is, he can run a sportsman as long as he stays in sportsman the rest of the year. So it becomes a moot point. That the price you pay for being part of a sanction, if you want to be a NASCAR track, be a NASCAR track, but you got to follow NASCAR's rules. You want to run a dirt car event, run a dirt car event. You have to run their rules, and so be it. I'm mostly for open competition, except for your example of a big paying crate sprint car race and your reasoning, right? Just like when Tim Hindley won the sportsman race at Syracuse, he's been a modified racer for years. They put up big money at Syracuse, and he goes down and takes that big money. So in certain situations, I think you want to nip that in the bud. But in that case, it's and this is going to come up later on. It takes the promoter off the hook because it's just a dirt car rule. So this is black and white, guys. It is what it is. We'll see you next week.
Let's bring Ray in, and then I'm going to give you my opinion, because I think you and Ray are probably from the same cut I am, where we didn't have rich daddies and rich families to take us out and go racing. Now, of course, there's going to be kids on the sidelines who aren't where you are, Ray, and still say, oh, yeah, you got all the advantages, but we still know there's always someone with a bigger advantage. But let me put it out to you, Adam, first, and then Ray. You know, Adam, you have a young kid coming up in racing. Connor would like to be a racer, so you get him in a solid race, you put together a program. And then every other buddy in the pits comes along, and they have their kid in mini stock, street stock, modified, late model, and they're still racing against Connor every week. They're getting 5 times better than him every week. They're getting 10 times the seat time he is every week. How is that fair to develop more talent just because he had more money? You wouldn't let it go in any other sport.
I'm not picking on you, but I'll pick on you. That is such a loser mentality. Don't make excuses about why you can't beat somebody. Just go out and freaking beat them. I don't care if you run 12 divisions. I don't care if you ran 6 nights last week. Get on the track. I'm going to beat your ass. And if my kid can't go out there and win against people who have a lot of practice, then so be it. He probably can't. Get him a lot of practice. Ray Morneau, you race, 19 times a year. Is there any time you go on the track and think, I can't win this week because the people I'm out there with have raced 40 times this year?
No, you can't think that way. You have to go out knowing you have a shot every week. So you just gotta. I mean, I understand where Clinton's coming from, where guys are just getting more laps and laps. But I'm in a tough spot right now because we have a late model, and I'm fortunate enough to run a super stock sometime throughout the year here. So you're kind of putting me on the spot here, but yeah, I mean, I just enjoy being able to get laps. I mean, it's just fun. There's competition in every class. It doesn't matter. You look at Joe Lawrence, he goes and runs bone stocks. He has a hard time with competition there. I mean, every class has their top guys. Like I said, you do get more laps. I understand where Clinton's coming from, but I mean, I just want to race everything I can, right? I mean, it all depends on the opportunities that come along. And like you said, luckily some people do have, they're wealthier people. Unfortunately, I'm not in that boat. Otherwise, I wouldn't be driving a 2013 Ford Edge. I'd be driving a dually. But
no, and yeah. That's the beauty of it, right? Is Clint does make a great point. And that's why it makes it so much more special. Because I know when you go out and you're able to beat Kyle Steckley or J.R. Fitzpatrick or whoever is in the McCall house car, you're doing it with less cubic dollars than they are. You get a lot out of your program. And for Joe fan, who might have never been at the racetrack, they might show up and see there's more Ray Morneau shirts than there are anybody else in the stands. They might think you're the rich kid if they didn't know any better. That's why you always have to be careful to not judge a book by its cover. Wouldn't you say, Clint?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. You know, like I said, there's somebody in the stands who's wishing he had Ray's car out there and saying, "Oh, look at this poor little rich kid out there getting it done." And Ray's looking down the road at the stackers on pit road and being like, "Man, I wish I had their tire budget and that thing to tow my car around." You know, I just think it comes back to, you know, we're trying to do what we can to make the sport still be somewhat fair for everybody and to get in it. And I think that's a dangerous slope to just let everybody do it. But then again, look, I've had my eyes open on the blacktop. It seems to be a bigger situation on the dirt than on the blacktop, or a bigger concern, let's say. But I don't know. I'll throw it to the Ashweekan guys. Do you think we should just let it go? Run whatever class you want. So, and would the fans like to see that? Do you think the fans are going to be happy to see the same guys in every class all night long?
I'll give you one more thought, and then we'll talk to Ray about Ray Morneau things. But Mac DeMann hasn't won every crate sprint car race this year, right? And he was a hot shoe in a 360. He goes back because that's where he fits in right now. So I believe nobody could buy a Thunder car and go out and just automatically think they could beat Dave Bailey and Ryan Beagle and the rest of that gang. So there are people, and the super stock division is a fantastic example of guys that are really good that have gone back. Jason Parker, Pete Vanderwees, they still have a tough time contending with the Carson Nagys and the Lane Zardos of the world. So it's a fun dynamic and it's a great debate. And I'm not sure there is a right or wrong answer. It's just what works for a given division. But Ray, talk to us about Delaware Speedway and even about the last few years. It's the hot place right now if you're a late model racer.
Yes, I mean, not even late models. It's every class. I mean, I think they had 48 bone stocks last week. It's the place is booming right now. Like you said, the last few years it's been all right, and then they repaved it, and man, oh man, it blew up. It's nice to see all the owners in the ownership group. They're all investing money into the track. That's going to get racers out. And it's just so racy now with the outside groove. You can start making passes. It got a little bit frustrating there when it was just the older surface and down to the bottom and kind of you had to root and gouge. And I mean it's a style of racing, right? I prefer this where you can run side by side and have a good race.
Ray, that kind of leads us into Saturday. We'll be back live on GeForce TV for the APC series. Delaware's probably going to have one of the biggest home influx of home track drivers like yourself going to be participating. Is it kind of like the tour comes home and you guys got to try and, is it you guys versus the tour this weekend, do you feel?
Yeah, I almost feel like that. There's I'm not sure how many guys are going to be out. I'm sure, I know Jess Kennedy's going to be out, and I'm not sure who else will be out. I'm sure Connor Pritico might be, and it'll be interesting to see how we all stack up, right? I mean, they're coming to our home turf, so you want to give your hometown guys a good showing. So it's going to be tough. I mean, all them guys on the tour, they're top notch. That's why they're running up front on the tour, right? So it's going to be a challenge, but we're up for the challenge. We haven't had the greatest start to the year we wanted, but we're working forward, making gains here and there, and I think we're in a better spot definitely than the beginning of the year. So I'm looking forward to this weekend.
How many hours went into repairing the car? We showed pictures of the car pretty much cut off from the rear window back. How much time went into getting that car back to race ready?
It was pretty much all of the 2 weeks. We had a week off in between races, we were lucky there. But Saturday morning at 7:00, my Uncle Dan brought the car to Mike's. I rolled out of bed at 8:30 or 9. We had a late night at the track. We stayed over, so we got there and spent the day at Mike's, cut it all off, and I was back down there Wednesday putting it all back together. And then just the little stuff, right? I mean, you start going, and then there's body braces you got to do, the little tabs here and there. It's just stuff keeps going, and then you got to wrap it, and it's like, holy moly. Thursday night before we were headed for the races Friday, I'm wrapping the car, finishing decals, and that just goes to show the hard work all the guys on the crew put forward to this effort that we have. And just like I said, it was all of 2 weeks to get it back together. It was unfortunate what happened, but we move on, and we're looking forward to the rest of the year here.
It seems like there's been a lot of wild Fridays at Delaware this year. We've had our share at Osh Weekend too. What's gotten in the water down there this year, Ray? There's been a lot of Torp race cars early in the year. Sad to see because car count's been good, and thankfully the car count's been able to stay up even despite those issues. But man, what's going on here in Southern Ontario this season? We've had a lot of carnage.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of full moon nights, I can tell you that. But I'm not sure what it is. It like you said, there's been a lot of wrecks. I know, obviously, I'm racing Friday, so I can't pay attention to Oshwegan much. But recapping through the week, I see Oshwegan's tore stuff up. Like it's kind of frustrating. Beginning of the year, you want to get the first few races through and work on your stuff and get it faster, right? And then you're just repairing it. It sucks. But some of it, there was just like last last time out, Jesse Kennedy blew up, and we were right behind him. And thankfully, I got in his oil, but then I was able to get around after. But that could have been 2 weeks in a row with a tore-up race car, and that wouldn't have been good for us. But, yeah, some of it's just unfortunate deals, and then some of it is just, I think, impatience on some guys' ends, and just kind of need to clean that up for if we want car counts up throughout the year, right?
Talk about Uncle Dan. Talk about that super stock. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We just kind of wrapping it up right now. We got it all scaled up, and we're looking to try and run this Friday, but we have no practice on the car yet, so we want to go out and shake it down, make sure nothing's gonna fall off, and obviously, I think I'm gonna run it a few times, and then obviously Dan's he's been out of the seat a while, so. It'd be nice for him to get some laps out there. I think he's gonna have a little bit of rust to shake off. So we'll hopefully get that out. I love the way the car looks. It's just like Jack Monahan's car back in the day. Same numbers, the orange with the black front bumper. It's pretty cool to have that, just like our Flat Rock car. It's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to getting out there with that on our off nights.
Ray, help us sell some tickets. Why should the fans come out to Saturday and Friday at Delaware and check the place out on the weekend, and this weekend especially?
This is a huge weekend. You have the United Racing Series, the Super Stocks, the late models, hot rods, and the modifieds. I mean, those are going to be full fields in all classes. Like you said, we're going to have the hometown regulars from Delaware joining the late models and the Super Stocks. So you're going to have upwards of probably, I'd say, 25 to 30 cars in the late models, and I'd say just about the same in the Super Stocks. So full fields, top-notch equipment in all divisions. Side-by-side racing, like I mentioned before, you got the outside that's working now. It puts on great racing. And I'm looking really forward to the choose cone rule. We have the leader can choose on restarts. I'm looking forward to this choose cone rule. See if we can make any spots up when somebody takes the top ahead of us, or a couple of guys take the top, we can take the bottom. Looking forward to that. But I mean, the whole facility, you got the camping. We love to make a weekend of it. So it's no reason not to come out to the track this weekend. I know the weather's looking a little shaky, but that'll all blow away, and we'll have a good weekend of racing.
That's the spirit, Ray. Thanks for coming on, man.
No, I got one.
All the fans. Okay.
Ray, just, there were a lot of drivers who weren't happy with the choose rule and how it shook out at Peterborough. So I assume you watched the race or saw some of it. We did see a lot of comers and goers because of that choose cone. Not like, right, Adam, not like 2-3 positions, like 5-6 position swings on the inside-outside sometimes. So
yeah.
Ray, you're excited for that. Anything makes you nervous about it? Because there were a lot of drivers who weren't happy about it. Or do you feel the series is going to maybe take some changes to make sure it's a lot clearer and defined this time?
I think the series is they're always learning, just like everybody, right? I mean, it's a new thing that they're trying, and I think they're going to learn from stuff that hasn't worked, and they're going to make changes. But like you said, there's guys that have made 4, 5, 6 spots on a restart. That's what I'm looking forward to. It puts it more into the driver's hands, right? I shouldn't say driver's hands, the team's hands. Everybody's involved, right? Spotter's got to be sharp. So I'm going to talk to my spotter, Chris Heber, this weekend, and on Friday we'll go over it and make sure he can count them all down, make sure he can count on his fingers, and make sure he's not missing any spots, so we know where to go.
There'll be some math involved. I'm hesitant to say goodbye. Clinton, have you got any more? I'm looking forward to seeing you on the weekend, man. Always fun to catch up with your family.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Hopefully we get to talk to you at the end of the night. We'll see. But like I said, looking forward to seeing you guys, and should be a fun weekend.
Thanks, Ray. We'll see you down there.
Thank you.
The end of the night. The very end of the night is when you want to be talking to us. One of the last 3 guys we talked to.
Not the end of his night.
Not about half an hour earlier than that, because it's not a good run. But, No, all the best to Ray. Great family, great people, and I think we have to buy the crew some fudge this week. So we'll have to look up Ray's sister and buy some of Dana's fudge because I'm not a big sweets guy, but man, I think I got to check that out. Well, I think we need to discuss a couple other things. What do you got, Adam? I got a couple comments I want to talk about.
I want to keep talking about divisions because this is some of the best conversation we've had in a long time. Spencer, can you put Mike Schmidt's comment on the screen? I'm not sure. Having a couple of technical challenges tonight, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to pull that off or not. But Mike Schmidt made a great point. At the same time, so does Andrew Sittler. And I think Andrew Sittler basically makes your point that when you have these divisions running all year long and you throw them some carrots, you throw up some big money races, the idea is not for someone to be able to come and cherry pick those big money races. So as a promoter, sure.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. As the promoter, what?
As the promoter writing those checks and filling those envelopes with cash, you have the right to dictate how you want it doled out. We had nights last year that the crate sprints, maybe not last year, but during COVID, where the Action Sprint Tour paid more than the 360 sprint cars. Because a sponsor someone came with an envelope of cash and I want this to go to the winner of the crate sprint race. What do? Tell them no? There has to be those promoter's choice, the promoter's option to do what they want to do, set the rules the way they want to set them, and watch it play out.
You know, in my mind, there's three discussions in this situation here, and I'll try and break them out for you. One is a top leveler or a higher division guy coming down, which is a situation Adam Leslie and Brad Rouse are talking about on Sunday. A modified driver not being able to drop down to Sportsman to compete at a different night, at a different track. He has the car. Why can't he do it? The second situation I was talking about was multiple cars on the same night just because you can every week, bringing 2 or 3 cars in 3 divisions and having that driver jump from car to car to car. I mean, Brad Rouse talked about a one-off. On the crate and 360 side, if you run the crate tour and you're trying to dabble in the 360s like a guy like Mike Bowman is, when the tour comes to Oshweekend, we will allow you to participate in both because you're trying to move up the ladder, let's say. There's a whole other situation. To me, the third situation was what we saw with the crate sprints at Brockville and the Empire Super Sprints down at Brockville on the weekend. Matthew Barjay, a crate sprint, and Lee Ladiseur ran with the Empire Super Sprints. So they're going the other way. These are underpowered race cars jumping in the top division. So you're taking carbureted, 602 powered sprint car and running against a top injected 360 sprint car. There's anywhere from 300 to 400 horsepower difference maybe in those things. I don't like it either. And all the crate guys are out there waving the flag and saying, oh, this is great, yay, great. And hey, great on Matthew Barjay, great performance. But as a promoter, it sucks because why are we going to go out and have 2 divisions, develop 2 sets of points, 2 sets of payouts? It'd be way easier just have 1 division. If you guys all want to play together, let's just have 1 winged sprint division and let you guys run your open motors for the guys who can afford it. It's no different than the guys who want to run 6 divisions in a night. Well, just let the rich guys do what they want, and the poor guys are going to have to suck and live with it or not have a loser mentality, as you say, Adam. So fine, let's have 1 big division for modifieds. What are the difference between sportsmen and modifieds and crates and 360s? The exact same thing, the engine and the carburetor. What's going on with crates and sportsmen? Exact same tires, exact same bodies. Okay, they have sail panels on the modifieds now at Maryville to differentiate them a bit, but they're essentially the same cars. So those guys dabbling up better watch what they're doing. And I'll take it to one other argument. Now, I bought all this money. I put $60,000 into my 360 sprint car. We're drawn for position. I line up behind somebody, behind 3 of these crate cars. Now, they're in my friggin' way all night. They're not firing. They're dangerous. They're half the speed. It's a problem out there. And any of these guys that pretend it's not are ridiculous. And I'm very fired up about that because I think it's a big issue.
Yeah. No, and you make it as the promoter of Oshweekend Speedway, I think you're absolutely right. As Cornwall Speedway, Brockville Speedway, and we talked about this off the air. It has to be a promoter's choice, a sanctioning body's choice. Here's another problem to go with your argument, Clinton, and I don't agree with your argument entirely, but Empire Super Sprints, you have all these teams drive from all over New York, Pennsylvania, wherever to come to Cornwall, and some of them are going to miss the show. They might have a mishap, miss the show because a local crate dragged their car off the trailer, couldn't keep up, but didn't have a problem. Now, I know that's racing, and you got to suck it up, but that's a concern because next year, why are you going to bring in the ESS when you could run local cars, save a lot of money? But I think at Cornwall, I think maybe at Brighton, I think there's places where if the promoter chooses to let them run, let them run. The challenge is they don't meet the rules. They do
That's
not
right.
meet the rules for almost every three. And here's what's beautiful about dirt racing. And asphalt racers who don't know a lot about dirt racing, they even say it. It's what's great about dirt racing is the same rules everywhere. You can run the same car everywhere. That is true. But a 360 is a 360. A crate is a crate. One is fuel injected. One is carbureted. There are differences in the rules. The crates don't meet those rules unless an exception is made to allow them to race. Why make that exception? So, and we can, Mark
Let's take it to another level. Along those same lines. And we saw this at Oshweekend when the World of Outlaws would come. We had to get our 360s in there. Same situation. Half the horsepower to a 410 sprint car, the best in the business against our guys. Tough sled. But on multiple nights there at Oshweekend over the 10 years we had those cars, you would get a heat by draw or by time trial where it was 6 360s and 2 410s. Now you have a bunch of 410s going to a B main in all the other heats that by right should not ever have to do that. Now I'll give it to you. It's racing. But those guys are traveling all over. And how about the fans that paid all that money? Paid $45 to see Johnny Schatz in the race, not so-and-so in his crate sprint. And
So,
I'm the biggest promoter of crate sprints. I ain't picking on them,
Right.
but let's call a spade what a spade is. And look, we had this problem on dirt. At Maryville, for many years in the Big Block Super Dirt Car Series, they would start bringing the 358 modified cars. Now, are you really having a Big Block Super Dirt Series race when 3/4 of the guys are small blocks? No. Fran just commented the same thing. But, and Andrew Sittler says he destroyed a car because a sportsman car was running in the mods.
Yeah.
Slower entering the corner, crash. Thank you, Andrew, for backing me up.
Now,
And Andrew's
to
going to be a
Adrian's
big
point-
part of our next discussion, too.
yes. To Adrian's point, how many 360s run against the Outlaws? None at Knoxville. Doubt there's any at Eldora. But when they come to Ransomville, or they come to Oshwegan, or they come to some of these tracks that don't have a lot of 410s, yeah, the 360s can get in there. Rolling Wheels was a great example. One or two might slip into the field, but that was a horsepower track. And that's the challenge you get when you have, and a 360 to a 410, I mean, those are similar, but a crate to a 360, those are very different race cars. So I think you have to take it situation by situation, and I think people have to understand that what will be a rule at Oshwegan, a big, fast horsepower racetrack, it's not necessarily going to be the same rule that works at Cornwall and Brighton. And there was a news story about that Belgian shot putter, that female. So the news story was, here's this big hulking woman, and she ran the 110-meter hurdles because two of her teammates got injured, and if Belgium didn't put a runner into the hurdles, they would have been disqualified from the overall event. So it was a big story that you had this hefty woman running and, lumbering over these hurdles just to get to the line so the team didn't get disqualified. And that was cute, and everybody could get excited. And Matthew Bardier winning a dash, that was cute, and everyone could get excited. That wouldn't be the same if it was in cycling, for example, and at the velodrome, you had all these 110-pound cyclists, and then I went out there because I thought it would be cute to strap on a helmet and a mankini and ride in circles, and 8 people died because I tipped over on them.
Oh my goodness. Well, we don't need to take it that far, but no, I mean that's just my point of it. I think Andrew put it best. Let's not mix classes. And you know, now I say that we're going to have a fun race, a dash at Osh Weekend with a bunch of the class out there with 3 cars from every class, but it's not a race, and we're not really letting people go at it, you know. But I think at the end of the day, there's 3 stories in there and 3 different ways. We love your opinions, so when you see us around, let us know what your thoughts are and whether we should be allowing it, you know, and allowing to race multiple cars.
In general, mixing classes is something that was born from low car counts, of having to bolster car counts. And I'll go out on a limb, it might not be popular, but to say these 8-cylinder classes and 4-cylinder classes that have breakout times, these are kind of mixing classes for the sake of filling a field and entertaining fans. There's times where it's necessary, but there's times when you don't need to go that route, and you should not go that route. But to Mike Schmidt's comment, and I don't think we could get it up on the screen unless Spencer surprises me, but Mike Schmidt's comment was, every different class takes a different style of driving. There's very good late model racers that would jump into a super stock and not be as successful. If you look at other genres of racing, whether it's snowmobile or motocross or things like that, they do have the 250s and the 450s, is it, like the pro class, and people do go back and forth, but it is a different style of riding, a different style of racing. Every discipline has a special skill set. Dave Bailey wasn't that good when he jumped into a crate sprint, crate engine in his Thunder car, and he can be a threat to win any given race. Fun topic.
I don't know how to put it in terms to kind of get my point across, but to me it just seems so unfair that some guys have the ability to do all 5 and some guys can only barely do 1. And I realize it takes a different ability to do it, but
okay,
I don't know.
Look at it this way.
Sucks to me.
That person only doing 1, and this is going to be really corny, but that person who can only do 1 is going to get so much more satisfaction out of what they accomplish than someone who's just spreading their DNA over.
I know we got to move off this, but let's look at it. An argument, the way it came up was in this year at Osh Weekend with the micro sprints. So we have a kid that's a newcomer, and he can race beginner because it's his first year, but he's decent, so he can go to box stock. And then mom and dad also have enough money to put that kid in open. And they also have a flat cart too. So they race all 4 divisions on Thursday nights at Osh Week. Is that really fair to every other kid sitting in the pits? I mean, I know maybe life's not fair, and that's the answer. But I don't know. As promoters of the deal, I think you got to kind of, you know, when you're that parent sitting there watching that go on, it ain't cool. Let's go on to our next topic, which is a super juicy one. And there's no right answer in this one right now either, depending on what side you're on. I think you and I both need to preface this. We're going to talk about the Maryville tire situation that broke on Friday. For full disclosure, I did ask both sides to come on. I didn't ask Andrew. I talked to Matt Williamson today. Matt said he declined to come on. I also talked to Doug Leonard, who is race director at Maryville, and Doug Leonard declined to come on as well. Not everybody deserves a ribbon. Is that what we're pointing at?
That's the one. Love it. Sorry.
No. So.
No. And I think you're right, Clint. So the long and the short is 3 drivers in the modified division at Merrittville were suspended for 2 races and fined after tire samples were sent to a lab for testing. 5 sets of tire samples, so top 5 finishers and modifieds from June 3rd, I think it was, were sent to a lab for testing. 3 of them came back, and I'm not sure what the findings were on those 3, but 3 of them came back deemed illegal. 2 of them came back deemed legal. The 3 illegal drivers were suspended for 2 weeks, and they have to pay fines before they can come back and race. I think that pretty much sets the table, right? So we're Matt Williamson, Gary Lindbergh, and Dalton Slack found illegal. The other 2 that were tested but not found illegal were Pete McNell and Ryan Susi.
Yeah, and so I don't think you and I are going to give a ton of opinions on this. We'll try and give the facts. For full disclosure, we're friends with all parties. I mean, I'm a promoter across town. I live in a glass house. It's not my place to throw stones at the way they do their tech or however they've handled the situation. As the media, we do want to get the story out, and we did invite both sides to come on. Both declined, and hey, I fully respect Matt and Doug's opinions and why they decided that they were going to hold off. Doug just said a lot had gone on over the weekend, and he just declined to get into it again, and I can respect that. Matt said they were still trying to work on a bit of an appeal process, and Matt said he wanted to wait another week to see how things shook out a bit further and to make sure the right things were said. So we can respect that. Matt put out some screenshots today. Matt did make a statement today as well. Wow, I don't know. I don't even know how deep you want to get into it. Do you want to show the screenshots or not?
Not necessarily, but let me. So all three of the drivers who were deemed illegal, and they're team owners. When I say drivers, all three entities involved dispute the findings. Whereas I don't know that all three are officially appealing it, but they have all disputed the findings. There's a big story in Area Auto Racing News this week about it. And those are some of the interesting things that I want to talk about, Clinton, more than the science, because what's being called into question in the appeals is the validity of these tests. They were done at an outside lab that has done a lot of this testing. But I guess the question I would have for you, Clinton, if you're the track promoter looking back at what's gone on and looking back at the backlash, would you still have gone through with all of what is, and even put yourself in Don Spieth's shoes, would you still have gone through and done all this if you knew what it was going to lead to?
I just said I wasn't going to make an opinion on it as a promoter, and now you're asking the question as a promoter. I'll give you a couple thoughts, though. So one thing Matt Williamson did tell me on the phone, on the record, he said Merrittville did the testing properly. He said he was quite pleased. Not pleased it went down, obviously, but he says he was not upset with the way the samples were taken, the way they were packaged, the way they were shipped. He felt everything was done right. Matt's verbal rebuttal to me today was, man, why would we do that? We've got a great package going. We don't need to be. We know we're going to tech every day. We know we're under massive scrutiny. We wouldn't need to do that. Matt's question is with Blue Ridge Race Labs, where there have been a lot of questionability over the years. There have been other lawsuits in situations like this where the testing had gone awry. There had been appeals that had been turned over. And when Josh Richards got caught at Charlotte a few years ago, I wouldn't even say caught, was deemed illegal, let's say, at Charlotte, Dirt Car allowed them to have a lie detector test. And Josh and Mark Richards took a lie detector test. They deemed it okay. They felt that they really were telling the truth, and the decision over. So Matt Williamson is calling for a lie detector test. He's saying, whatever tests you want me to take, whatever you want me to do, let's get this right. I've heard stories about other samples being sent out. Not sure if there was another round of samples, if that's officially going on or not. So there is there's still stuff in the works. From the Merrittville side, you asked me as a promoter, would I want to do it, knowing the backlash? Well, hell no. If you know all the backlash, you would find another way to get around this. You never want backlash. You have to do it, though. You have to make sure everybody's on the up and up. And I don't think Matt was upset. I don't know, maybe Andrew can even comment on this and say, no, I'm okay with the tire testing. I mean, we need the testing. I think the lab in question is where it is. And if this lab never had a black mark on its reputation or multiple black marks from the racing world on the reputation, maybe things may be a little more solid from the team and the fans' perspective. But now you have a standoff.
You want for the results of a technical inspection to be black and white, without any gray, without any doubt. And things that I like to give an example, Clinton, say carburetor. You've got a no-go gauge. Right? So you put it down inside, your carburetor is allowed to be so big. They put the gauge down. If it goes in, you're illegal. If it won't go in, you're legal. It's a very simple test. It's black and white. There's other things that are black and white. Weight rules, black and white. Overall weight, you put a car on the scales, and people know It's whatever the scales say at the track, not what your scales say at home, but what the scales say at the track. And I think that's what's unfortunate, because we're two of the biggest proponents in the world for having good tech, strict tech, and holding teams accountable to it. So I think that's what I find unfortunate here is some of the backlash and some of the gray area. And if I was going to come, I read Lenny Salmon's story from Area Auto News. What I didn't understand is it was all about Pete Bicknell and Matt Williamson. Like it wasn't as much about the Speedway. So it's almost like, well, wait, it's not the Hatfields and the McCoys. These people own the same business together. It's not one versus the other. So it's pretty bizarre shit going on, and it's really unfortunate because I think everyone had good intentions, right? Even Matty defending the procedure.
You know, Andrew says not sure why they used his car for the story, and he says they're not accepting it. This is wrong. They're trying to appeal it. Andrew's been around a long time. I mean, his father raced for millions of years. Back in the day. A couple notes I have here, Adam. I did get some information about the tires tested and the date codes. So one of the things Matt mentioned to me was, the tires were from a wide range of date production codes. The 42's tire was December 2021. Matt's tire that they said was illegal was from March 2022. Lindbergh's tire was from May of 23, and the 3RS was from November of 22. So a wide range of builds there. And what Matt said to me is he was also questioning, again verbally, just as we were shooting the shit on the phone about it, of trying to get him to come on and kind of, say their side as we were trying to get Doug on at the same time. And Matt said, we all know that there were tire shortages through the pandemic. We all know that the tire makeup may have changed during the pandemic due to chemical shortages and material shortages. He's saying, he's questioning, and has the benchmark been updated since it was originally set 4, 5, 10 years ago? So there's lots of questions like that. We are hearing rumors that there may be another set of samples going out to a secondary lab. So we're going to stay on this story. As we said, we're trying not to pick sides here. Ultimately, I want Maryville to do well because they were on a hitter this year. The car counts were up, places packed. Everything's just knocking out of the park for them. This is going to be a bit of a setback that nobody wants to see on either side. And,
and
Matt also said to me one thing. Go ahead.
Just to David Murdoch, all the teams wrap their tires. When you clean the tires, grind the tires, prep the tires, they wrap them. You do that to keep the elements off them, to keep... It looks like you're seeing something, but I really don't know that.
I think you're missing the point there, Adam. So what that could be is, as you wrap those tires, what type of chemical transfer is going from that cellophane wrap you're using that you bought at the dollar store, bought at the grocery store? Who knows what's in that shit you're putting on your tires? And then you wrap it in that and you leave it in the hot sun in your hot trailer for 3 weeks because you do all your prep a month early, whatever. I'm just saying, there's also things. What you wash your tires with. You're not trying to chemically make them soft. You're trying to clean them. But maybe that is somehow changing the chemical compound. Driving across grass that has pesticides put on it was another thing. As you're loading the car in the backyard, have you sprayed for bugs? Shit like that. Have you drove up and down your driveway that's full of oil and gas for years? You know what I mean? There's all kinds of things that could alter those tires other than intentionally trying to make them softer to race. Where are we with the durometer these days? Won't that tell us where we should be? Why aren't we checking that?
I was curious about that. I was curious about whether the tires had a durometer put to them. And it's ironic because this issue was rampant in pavement racing, and it still is. But they solved it by having a tire truck at the races. So APC series, you don't get your tires ahead of time. You get them the day of the race, deal with it. There's not enough time to properly dope your tires that way. You can't do that on dirt because people run the same tires week after week after week unless you had some kind of very complicated impound. So it's a problem, and I hope it gets sorted out. I hope whatever happens leads to satisfaction on everyone's part. There's always going to be people that aren't thrilled about certain things at the races, but by and large, and Clint, you and I have seen it many, many times. where people have just been told they're disqualified, they're never happy. But quite often they know damn well what they were disqualified for, and they go home and they come back next week.
Just curious, Andrew, what's your game plan if you're still watching? Talking to Andrew Sittler via the show, he's commenting here. What's your plan, Andrew, via the fine? And, do you just sit out? Do you come back? Do you move on? We'd love to talk to you next week as well. So I'll be reaching out to you, see if we can make that happen. Adam, what is the way out of this?
I think there has to be a sit down, Clinton, and it has to be with track management and these stakeholders. And truthfully, Clinton, maybe not just the stakeholders that are involved, but maybe every team owner with a modified needs to take part in this and have a sit down, say, here's where we're at, because it's very polarizing, right? Track versus the teams. I mean, the track could very easily stand up and say, we stand behind these results and this is how it is. But I don't know that anybody wins in that case. Like, I don't know if anybody comes away satisfied. I think at least there needs to be communication, there needs to be dialogue and some listening and see what the next step is. But you set it up perfectly before we brought up the topic. This is a fluid situation. It's not over yet. We're in the middle of it.
Yeah. Crazy situation. A lot of our friends are involved in it. And for once, I'm glad it's not my problem.
Yeah. So, Alvers, the doping in the air peg tank, and there were a lot of teams. So when tires would get broken down at the tire trailer, I mean, there's toxic shit coming out of some of them. But you don't get much advantage, if any. There is no process you can do at the racetrack that within those 2 hours or whatever time you have is going to be an effective. People who properly dope their tires, these things are on rotisseries for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days.
How do you know?
I know a thing. I don't know a thing or two, but I know a thing.
Yeah, I bet you do. We'll follow the story as it goes on. Spencer, do we have any clips from The Rock on the weekend? I'm not sure if we do or not. Let's talk about. We also have the biz of racing too.
If we don't have clips from The Rock, we will next week, because I want to look real closely at who finished second.
We do. Let's take some looks. What a great speedway Eastbound Park is. Just shows up so good.
Yeah, it looks great on camera. Nice, like made some great improvements to the track since last year. The crowd was fantastic. You can't think of a prettier setting, Clint.
I can't tell if that's lagging on our end too. Yeah, it is a bit of lagging on stream, but yeah, what a wicked spot. They've done a great job. Even this year over last year with the improvements, the place looks great. Some wild action, Trayton Lapsbitch goes on to win it again. You can take that down, Spencer. It's pretty choppy. But you can check it out on Flow or TSN Plus, and, of course, on TSN this weekend with the full broadcast before the NASCAR race. Just to get Andrew Silver's last comment in, Andrew says the chemical found in his tire wasn't a performance enhancer. They aren't planning to return unless this is reversed. They did nothing wrong. Thanks for your comments, Andrew. I'll be reaching out to you this week, and we can maybe get you or Gary on to talk about the situation and where it is next Tuesday. Let's show let's show the Kevin Swindell screenshot, the business of racing. And he brought up some good points, Adam. Where do you want to go with this? I thought this was a good post.
So Kevin Swindell is bringing to light what a lot of people have known for a long time. There was a time sprint car racers could make money on the winner's purse, right? Between merchandise sales and the winner's purse, Steve Kinser made a good career. Sammy Swindell could get it done. Those days are over, right? And Kevin Swindell points out, if a race is $10,000 to win, you're giving $5,000 to the driver, $1,000 in tires, $1,000 in wear, $1,000 in hotels, $1,000 in employees. You break even if you win. So those days are done. You have to have all of your expenses paid for. your tires, your equipment, your wear and tear, your hotels, your employees, before you show up at the racetrack. Right? You have to have partnerships, you have to have sponsors, and then you've got to hope you've got a good merchandise program to where the prize money becomes the gravy. The prize money might become the profit of your team. And that's a model that we've been using in Canada for years. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying if you look at the NASCAR Pinty Series, and not at the people, I'm trying to think, LP Dumoulin, Alex Tagliani, some of the people that basically do it for a living, not whose people finance them to be able to do it. Andrew Ranger, people who draw their paycheck from it. That formula is there. That formula exists where performance is just a bonus. But people are going to have to put some thought into it. And we mentioned it last week, Clinton. I'm going to take part in this, but we are going to work on some marketing seminars in the off season to help teams understand how to look for sponsorships, how to sell advertising on their race teams, and how to take advantage of some of the things that are being done, like the streaming, to try to get a little bit more money than what they're getting right now from their racing program.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think how much the racing has changed and the economics of it. I don't see it really going back the other way where it becomes a big thing. It's going to be a business write-off type deal for a while here. You're always going to have the guys who are going to scrounge their way in. But, yeah, man, I think Kevin Swindell brought up some great points there. Let's talk about Alex Guenette going to run Chicago. Adam, this is a big deal for Alex Guenette to run the Xfinity Series in Chicago this weekend. Pretty interesting for the driver from Terrebonne. Been running decent with the NASCAR Pinty Series.
I would be curious to know, and I haven't read enough about it, but I believe that'll be a locked-in car if he's running the 36 car. So Alex LeBay running the 35, I don't know if that's a locked-in car, but the 36, and that just raises the price tag, right? When you go to rent a ride, you're going to pay more if the car's going to start the race guaranteed. But good for Alex Guenette. He's a young man with a ton of upside, good-looking kid, well-presented kid, very good driver, very well-spoken. He's got all the pieces you need.
Right on. Where are we off to next with NASCAR Pinty Series? The streets of Toronto, right? 2 weeks?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, cool. We'll be there to check that one out. Let's talk to, how about Derek's comment? Clint and Adam, what do you think crate sprint racing will look like in the next 5 years? Adam?
I think it'll look a lot like it does right now, to be honest with you. I think that is one division that is in for the long haul. I think it checks all the right boxes for affordability, fun factor, entertaining for a promoter to be able to put on that show. So I don't think you'll see a lot of change.
I think we're just going to see more people come up through it. We've seen a lot of them kind of work their way up through the ladder system and move on. We are hurting a bit. I mean, I'm not going to lie, out on the crate tour, by losing 6 of our top guys last year who were tour guys, the numbers haven't been as great as we'd like them to be out on the Action Sprint Tour so far this year. I don't think we're hurting yet, but guys, my number's 18. If we can't produce an average of 18, that tour will go away real quick because we're not gonna struggle to drag 10 cars all over the province. I do think it's in a bit of a growth year, and just like anything we say, it's up and down. You've got a bit of ebb and flow. There's still a lot of growth to be had, but as drivers move out, we need to replenish them with new talent. I think it's an exciting year, though, this year, with a lot of the top drivers moving up to 360s. It's an open championship in the crates at Oshweekend Weekly this year, and I think a bit of a crapshoot on the crate tour, too. So excited to have that. This Sunday, the SOS is part, Southern Ontario Sprints and the Action Sprint Tour are part of the Humberstone event on Sunday. We're still finalizing the G-Force deal. We believe we're going to be live on Sunday. We'll make an announcement officially on that tomorrow. But it's on the schedule.
Are we able to show that Team as video, Clinton, or are we struggling?
That is a Spencer. We can try. It was chugging along pretty good. So just for everybody at home, Spencer mentioned that his computer was struggling. We're struggling with some technical difficulties. He said his PC lost a couple cylinders tonight, chugging along, trying to stay on the lead lap. So we got like 5 laps to go here. Let's try and keep it all together. Let's throw it up there if we don't get black flagged for being too slow.
You know, it started out, Cannon, on that restart where you jumped the start. I don't know if you know this, but on the next one where you were leading, I let you go because the leader was you, okay? Yeah, I threw a slide job halfway down the track and they called a yellow into 1, and you know what? I still owe you from Hopstadt. Remember Hopstadt? Hey, I guess we're even. Hey, the guys give us a track that's slide or die, and then they don't expect us to be worked up. Hey, how you like it now?
Yeah, just got, like I said, got the front end bin up there when he slid us and fenced us under yellow. And just trying to hang on there at the end. That's all we were doing. Just hats off to the guys for putting me in position again. We just weren't able to hang on. I know I'm the better person, the better driver, so I'll shake it off. We won the last 2 nights. We'll see what we can do tomorrow.
There's Dirt Vision clip.
That is 2 drivers,
that?
Clinton, who get it. The producers get it. The drivers get it. You don't have to like each other, but take advantage of each other all you can. That's 2 drivers giving you gold right there. You can use that clip over and over again to set up the next week, and then whatever happens next week, you can play off it, right? That's the entertainment side of the business. That's like shooting a promo, only it wasn't a shoot, it was real.
Robbie Longo, Campground Robbie says his buddy T-Mez, prove it. Get him on the show for us next week, Robbie. You keep telling me your buddies with Thomas Meserol. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your buddies where your texts are. Kyle Tomaski, yes, make up for the Cash Blast 50, the big $2,000 to win. $1,500 for second, $1,100 for third race for the Thunderstock next week will be Friday, July 7th. Cash Blast 50 will be back Friday, July 7th. Richard Hadler, yeah, we were doing G-Force and Maryville. They said they'd rather just go without it. They felt, some folks might have been staying away, so they have passed on it. We have not got to Humberstone yet, and so we don't really have any much light stuff going on this year right now. That just about does it, Adam. I think a good-spirited show. I want to thank Ray Morneau Jr. for joining us and wish him all the best as we look forward to catching his race this weekend.
And Alvers, I agree with you. It was like WWE, but it wasn't too far over the top. That's why I really liked that clip. I thought, this is good. Drivers actually giving an opinion, backing it up with some stats, like some examples, and not getting personal. Like, they didn't insult each other's mothers. They just made it clear that they weren't thrilled. I mean, I would love it. If we could get Trayton Lapsevich to start doing that versus Marc-Antoine Cameron when they have these issues on the track, man, oh man, that'd be beautiful.
I just liked what he said. They make the track slide or die and expect us not to get pissed off? What are they thinking?
That's it, right? It's black and white. So some fun stuff. We're getting into that time of year when feelings are getting hurt and drivers are going to let you know it. And I just hope we get some good enough weather that we can ride it out and really enjoy some of it.
Yeah, I don't think we can handle 3 weeks in a row with the Big L. That would certainly suck. Praying for the best. Let's get some good weather going. Everybody, blow it out of town this weekend. We have a triple header live on G-Force. We'll be Friday night at Oshweekend, Saturday with the APC Series at Delaware, and scheduled to be Sunday night at Humberstone with the Action Sprint Tour, the Southern Ontario Sprints. They have a full packed house there, and a dirt sprint, sportsman tour race, plus mini stock, street stocks, I believe. So full house on Sunday as well. That'll wrap things up for here. Spencer, crank that thing up a bit tighter next week, and we'll be ready to go.
Great show. Great comments, folks. You really kept the show going with the commentary tonight, so thank you for that. See you all next week.
Oh, one last thing. Don't forget, Brighton's off, closed for the holidays. I talked to Mark, wanted me to mention that. Brighton, everybody go camping this weekend or come to another track. Not much going on in Brighton. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. We'll see you somewhere over the weekend.